weird. I don't know.
Oh, hey, we're live.
Oh, hi.
So we're probably out of focus, and we were just talking about how there's no way to manually change that. So I apologize if we're little blurry schmooshes on your laptop.
Just
whatever.
listen.
Just listen to
your
us.
eyes.
Listen to our beautiful voices.
Envision that we're in focus.
We're a little soft.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we put a
nice.
little Vaseline up on there to go all 1920s and 30s. Anyway, today we're going to talk about Dear Mr. Rogers.
Does it, Dear Mr. Rogers, does it ever rain in your neighborhood? Letters to Mr. Rogers is the full title of the book, which, in case you weren't aware, this is the Letter Writers Alliance Book Club. My name is Donovan. This is Kathy. We're the co-founders of the Letter Writers Alliance, which is an organization that just wants you to write more letters. We don't care who to. We don't care how you want to do that. We just want you to do more of it. And this is our friend, Betsy Sieber.
Hello.
Yeah.
Betsy is a pattern designer, and she also makes really cool jewelry out of postage stamps. So Betsy Sieber is the pattern designer, and then, oh, I got it wrong. Sieber. Sorry. Damn it. Ah. All right. We went through this whole thing about how to pronounce her last name. Donovan, do you want to tell us how you remember?
I don't.
Okay. And Foxglove Accessories is her jewelry.
Yeah.
So
I got connected to these guys through the postage stamp jewelry.
Mhm.
Obviously, we were into the same things at the same time. So we were doing craft fairs together and admired each other's goods. And then I joined the alliance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you approach us first, or did Donovan approach you first?
I don't know if it was just a mutual.
Yeah. Meeting of the minds.
We might have been like next to each other or something.
Probably
I don't
a
know. Renegade
craft fair, if
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
I definitely had quite the nose for your jewelry.
Okay.
So-
So maybe you approached me, but I think I was
Probably.
aware of you. No, you know what?
What?
I remember.
Okay.
I met you the first time at that empty lot on North Avenue.
Oh yeah, the
But
lot.
I don't think you had Letter Writers Alliance yet. You were just 16
Just
Sparrows.
16 Sparrows.
And I bought some stationery from you.
Yeah,
And I started following you guys a little bit. And then, yeah.
that was an interesting summer. So what Betsy's
we
talking
did it like
about,
it was like every weekend.
yeah, what Betsy's talking about that is that there was
memories.
an abandoned lot on God, what was it?
It was on North.
On North Avenue.
North and Damon and Milwaukee, that
Mhm.
intersection, which we call fondly the Crotch in Chicago.
It's a really cool neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was an empty lot in a really cool
It was
neighborhood.
an empty lot in a really cool neighborhood, and this group called The Lot decided to host all during summer of like craft fair every single weekend.
It was sort of like a farmer's market, but a craft fair.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they let you choose which weekends you wanted to do it. We did not do it every single weekend.
Good, because we
cycled
would've been.
everyone cycled out, so it kind of switched up a bit. But we met really cool people through that.
Yeah.
Like we always put next to someone different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it. I don't know what happened to those people, or if they kept doing a fair. They didn't do it the next year for
Yeah.
sure. I remember them saying it was hard work.
I'm
Lot
certain
was there
there's
for a long time.
I'm
The
certain there's
actual
very
lot.
pricey real estate there now.
Isn't it the fitness center now?
For the
It
Roby?
might be.
No, the Roby is
just existed.
Okay.
yeah, the Roby is closer to the actual intersection. This was on the west side of the train station.
You know, I think it might still be an open lot.
Really?
Okay. That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've known Betsy a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's seen us through our transition from 16 Sparrows to Letter Writers Alliance, which
Yep.
was a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So anyway, how did you even get into using postage stamps for your jewelry, though?
My dad's really into collecting coins, and coin collecting and stamp collecting sometimes go together. So he was given a box of stamps, but he's really not into stamp collecting. And I was into like collaging and stuff, in high school and college. So he gave me the box to try to collage with, and I actually like showed them to someone who collects. I was like, "Are these valuable at all?" They're like, "No, they are. They are
Pro
really not."
tip. No, it's never valuable.
Yeah,
And none of it is
Yeah.
valuable.
sentimental value only.
Yeah.
So I decided that I would do something with them. And they, stamps, vintage stamps are like have these intricate, like cross-hatched, amazing designs. So I started just making jewelry with like packing tape and stamps. And then I got into resin and metalwork and have my jewelry line.
I think I still have one of your package tape necklaces.
Well, I upgraded to acid-free laminate.
Okay.
So hopefully they're not like yellowed and awful.
No. And I also have your resin ones too. I have like the cufflinks.
Those are a little sturdier.
So, we forgot to mention that if you wanted to join us in the conversation, we have a chat open on the YouTube page. And I see that we already have people talking there, and someone obviously has watched us before and said they're from Detroit, because we normally ask you, hey, where are you joining us from, and what you're drinking. And we're drinking water and lemonade because we already knew we were going to complain about the weather, because it's 92 degrees in Chicago right now.
It was 40 degrees last week.
It is strange, yeah. Strange times.
It's just we got no spring. It just went. There were maybe 2.5 days of really pleasant weather, which I definitely had to work through. And then it was 90 degrees, and I put my AC in, and I don't get to have my porch door open or my windows open because it's too hot.
It'll cool off next week.
Yeah, it'll be right back to 40 or something.
It doesn't stay in the 90s all summer.
No,
I hope not.
I think that's only done that like one summer. Maybe like 5 years ago.
I remember there was one really awful summer.
Yeah.
But then there was one like really cool summer too.
Yeah, it was the last
That
summer
was after
really
the
cool.
polar vortex.
Oh, really?
And people were saying that it was so cold, or it was nice in Chicago because the ice was still melting off of the lake, and so the cool breeze was coming into
it
Chicago.
acted like a giant swamp cooler for the entire city.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It was great.
I'm into it.
Yeah. So anyway, so let us know where you're joining us from and what you're drinking, and hopefully it's not as hot as it is.
It is very
wherever you
comfortable
are.
in here.
Yeah. Thank God
Kathy has
for
her air
Central
conditioner on,
AC.
and we're good in here.
So, Anyway, so general thoughts and feelings about the book, and then we'll get into details about which parts made us cry and stuff.
I don't have the occasion to read a lot of parenting books, but I feel like this is the best parenting book I have ever read.
Yeah, I want to buy it for all my friends with kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, this man has all the answers.
Yeah.
He tells you he doesn't have all the answers, but he clearly has all the answers.
Yeah.
And that's part of why it's the best, because he's like, you don't have to take my word for it. You can just, be a human being about things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Mr. Rogers. I didn't know that he actually did child psychology. I thought he was just a pastor and happened to go into television. I didn't know that he actually was learned in the ways of the mind.
He really knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
In, every way.
Yes.
What kind of pastor was he?
Presbyterian, I think.
Okay.
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we just found out that we weren't sure when he passed away, and we just found out it was 2003. So then 15 years without Mr. Rogers. I don't even know what he was doing towards the end, though, if he did anything.
I mean, the show wasn't on.
Oh, no, I know. Yeah.
2003.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I know that my sister-in-law graduated from Dartmouth in 2001, and he spoke at her commencement.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was a big deal. The whole family was there. I wasn't there yet, but they were all very excited. So he was definitely still doing speaking engagements in his final years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I was just I definitely watched the show when I was a kid. I was probably watching reruns, though. I don't think it was.
Mm-hmm.
There were new ones through the 80s.
No, actually, yeah, I take it back, because the whole the crayon thing, they visit the crayon factory.
Oh yeah,
I just
that
showed
was
that to my kids
definitely
recently.
contemporary to our childhoods.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know they had the breakdancing kid too. But he mentions when he was talking about the divorce episodes, he did mention, we rerun those in August or something like that. So they obviously got certain episodes in ran them.
Divorce month.
Oh man. Yeah. Which I found very cool that he even decided to address that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so many kids are going through divorces. Like, how are we going to talk to them about this? Which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah. And for him to just not say, like, oh, what a pity. Like,
Yeah.
These kids have to deal with this. I'm going to help them do it.
We're going to all have some important talk.
Oh my God, the important
Important
talk
talk.
thing was so great.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I'm imagining, like, all the kids that watch Mr. Rogers, like, walking up to their parents later that day saying, we need to have an important talk.
Yeah.
So just so you guys know, I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, 2 little girls. And yes, I totally agree with Donovan on this. This is
Best parenting.
I don't read parenting books. Yeah, but this was a fantastic parenting book. And I did not expect to well, here's what I expected a little bit more because I knew about his religious background. I thought there would be a lot more bits of that in there. And I love that there wasn't.
He is super humanist
Yes.
throughout this.
Yes.
I mean, it is,
He's just like, I'm speaking to all people. All people.
Yeah, there's especially they talk about, like, some kid asked him about how the universe started.
Yeah.
He gives this great explanation about, it's so great that you're thinking about this and you're asking these questions, and there's lots of different answers and people are still looking for the answers, and that's great. That's what we want. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us special. I was like, you're the best man. I'm just flabbergasted constantly by the responses of the book. I was reading them aloud to Dylan last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he was just like, that man is too good for all of us.
Yes. Yeah, like I was just thinking, you know, while I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, an enormous void like has occurred after he passed away. Like who can even fill half of what he was providing to children, you know?
Yeah, because I feel like there's certainly people out there that are producing content for children, but that concerned way in which he produced content, and also the attention to the fact that this was television, not real life, and you need to have these important conversations with people around you, and television needs to be experienced with an adult person.
Yeah.
Very important, and I think that is definitely, like, out the window.
Right now? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, because right now the TV shows are so that, I mean, at least, like, okay, so Donovan and I do not have kids, but a lot of our friends do. So my experience is that whenever I go out with my friends with kids, the iPad is put in front of them so that they shut up and the adults can have their time. So, and
which is not to say that the kid is not completely happy with the iPad.
Oh yeah, and I'm not.
Oh, the kid's very happy with
it.
Yeah,
and I'm not even judging. There's just not judgment for parents. It's just like there's a difference, right? Like that time is the kid one-on-one with that TV show. It's not like the parent is not actively engaging with that kid watching the show. Maybe they do at home, that's fine, but like that is the way that they get their time by themselves, right? So it's a different thing.
Yeah, and also he started his show in what, 1950 something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So television was very, very new.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a whole section of the book that talks about how, like, children just having a problem understanding television, understanding visual media as a thing. And you have kids. I don't know if you had to have the television isn't real conversation.
No. I think, I wish that his letters were dated.
Yeah.
Oh, were they not?
No, they're not.
Okay.
That would have been helpful, I think, because I think those questions are posed by kids that, like, they're, you know, probably at least like 3 or 4 by the time their family gets their first TV. So
they didn't.
These are not the kids that there's been a TV in their house since birth.
Yeah.
I would have liked to know that info. I want more info on, like, all the kids.
Oh my God.
Like, I want to know their background, their home life. If they have a parent that will have important talk with them.
Yeah.
That was, like, the potentially heartbreaking part for me is, like, what if, like Mr. Rogers thinks so highly of these adults caring for these children, but what if they're not up to the task?
Well, that's why I liked how sometimes he would also write back to the parents.
Yes, that's true.
If it was clearly something that it was like, so this kid should have asked you this question, and they're only 3, and yet you wrote to me. So let's circle back around to how you need to be a parent in this situation.
And his language in those was so similar to the kid letters.
Oh yeah,
it was good.
Yeah, I did enjoy the ones where it was obvious that they were writing it together, the caretaker and the kid, and so I just loved those. I thought that was
language.
I liked those a lot. And then on that same note, the parents who wrote to Mr. Rogers, it's like, kids, I'm having a problem. I need you to help me know my kid.
This is hard.
Yeah, and I was just like, what? That is crazy. I don't know if I would have thought at a parent at that time to be like, I'm going to write to Mr. Rogers about this problem. I don't know if I would have. So that was really interesting to me. Yeah, and on the TV one, the one where it was like the kid had the TV repairman come in, and when they opened up the back, they thought it was so tiny Mr. Rogers. I was like, so yeah, pretty cool. But in general, I gave this like 5 stars on Goodreads. I was like, this is great. I want to buy a copy for everyone I know.
Super easy read.
Yeah.
It was touching in places. It was funny in places. It was a very it's just easy.
Yeah.
It was like watching an episode of Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Because I could hear him.
It was easy, but it had substance.
Yeah. I could hear him speaking the entire time.
Definitely.
Just that calm, measured way he has of speaking. He has it in writing too.
Yeah.
I will say I did not read the songs.
I kind of read the songs, and then after a while I was like, meh.
They don't have the same impact without a melody.
That's true.
And so I did this thing. This was way before I knew I was reading this book. It's probably about a year ago. I got Amazon Prime, and I finally got all the Amazon Prime TVs. And Mr. Rogers' entire catalog is on Amazon Prime. And my kids were, I think they had just watched a couple Sesame Streets, and they weren't that into it. And I was like, I want to show you this show that I used to love. So we went way back when it was black and white.
Oh,
he was so handsome.
Oh, really?
So cute and young. Anyone that has Amazon, go back and check out. You don't have to watch the whole episode, but just get a glimpse of his first walk into the house. It's adorable. Where was I going with this?
I don't know.
Did your
I don't know
kids like
either.
it?
Yes,
okay.
My kids did love it. Oh, I was going to talk about his early days. He did a lot more songs and a lot more. He did these the operas, which he refers to a little bit in the early days. That was his thing, and you can tell it's a passion of his to develop these things, make these songs and these plays. But it's not what he's best at.
Aww.
So I think as the show went on, he realized he was so much better at just relating to the kids, and then stopped doing as many of the songs and dramatic. Yeah.
It also may have. I know very little about the history of the Mr. Rogers show, but he talks about how he has this musical background, and what he wanted to do originally was be a musician.
Yes.
And so maybe it's also part of when he first started the show, it was very much this is the vehicle for my music. And as it progressed, it had a little bit less of that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. Yeah. So in response to the songs, I would say the songs just aren't that good. I'd rather hear him speak candidly than hear it in song. But all kids relate to different things. So maybe hearing it in a song is a better way for it to get across to someone.
Yeah. So when
wishes don't make things come true, you guys.
Yeah.
It's such an
nor does prayer.
No,
as it turns out.
Anti-Disney sentiment, which I really enjoyed.
Yes.
Because again, it's not dumbing things down for kids.
Yeah.
It is very much saying this is your reality, and this is how you need to relate to yourself and those around you.
Yeah. Here's more information about this.
So I was going to say that when I first read the introduction, I was like, oh God, I'm in trouble. I'm going to cry through this whole thing. And then I didn't cry for like a good 2/3 of it. And then I hit one letter and I was on the bus and I was like, I'm going to be the crazy person crying on the bus. I had to like hold it in. I probably looked like an insane person. But
Which one was it?
oh, so you want me to say about which one made me cry?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
I want to see if it was one that made me cry.
My grandma doesn't think very well anymore. I almost want to cry just reading that sentence. Page 119. It's about the grandma who's got Alzheimer's, but he never says, like, Mr. Rogers does not tell the kid what the diagnosis is, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
And it was just, oh my God. And the fact that, you know, she yells, he's like, she yells at me, and he just like explained this to him. Yeah, I don't know. It was just really.
It was
and
so
also
good.
allayed the child's fears in that the child sometimes forgets things.
Right. And so the kid was afraid that he also was going to get sick like his grandma. Oh my God. I was like, I can't. Not in public.
Yeah. No, I same.
Yeah.
Same.
So that one was really hard for me. And then the other one that was heartwarming and made me almost cry because of that was the one where Mr. Rogers wrote, like, when I wear blue, I'll be thinking about you. And then she's like, but we had a black and white television. And the creativity of that dad to like, I don't even know what he did in the background. Like, he must have like come up with some agreement with the guy who owned the store, because they're not going to let this guy just sit through an entire Mr. Rogers episode at a TV place. Like, this is not.
I don't know. Maybe.
Would they even have it? Like, I am sure that they had something like, could you like turn it to Mr. Rogers?
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like something. I don't know what. He had to have a
There were
conversation.
probably only like 3 channels.
Yeah. So like that, and then the fact that just such a smart, like, creative dad. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just really enjoyed that resolution.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then the resolution, which seemed like a pain in the butt, ended up being like their special time together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also just, you know, I think like he mentions it a little bit more in the book where he's just like, I don't know how people are going to take my letters. Like how, like I was trying to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize the situation.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm sorry, a thing that I thought
yeah.
would have been fun for you turned out to be a disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that there's stuff like that all the time in letters in real life, and like, you know, and so
yeah, even the most thoughtful, considerate man made a mistake, you guys. That's
made
okay.
a child cry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody gets mad sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even good people do bad things.
Exactly. So I thought that was just, oh my God, that was really cool. So, but you have a lot of, Donovan and I shared a book. You have a lot of gold pieces.
And I don't remember why I marked
in
things. Oh, in the introduction, he talks about just letters and letter writing, and he talks about the importance of using a return address. Everyone. Don't at me.
Yeah. I will just interject by saying that I have so many emails from people, from pen pal swap people, who are like, my pen pal wrote to me and this is really great, but they did not include a return address. How am I to write to them? And I'm like, well, thank goodness I have their address for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also I did a blog post on like basic letter addressing.
Yeah.
And it's got like 20 freaking comments on it about people being like, oh, but can you do it this way? And can you do it that way? And this is cramping my creativity style. And I'm like, okay, it said basic, number 1. And number 2, like some people just don't know.
Yeah.
Number 3, use a return address.
Yeah. Just it could even be, you know, you can go super old school and put it on like the top right corner of your letter. It's just like, they need to know who to write to. People do not carry, like, let's say they even have their address, but people do not carry around their address book everywhere. So just
make it easy for people to write you back.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
So PSA over. And then it talked, I marked something in the television section where it's just, we can't take for granted that children understand what they see and hear on television.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, okay. I didn't consider that.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly because I am a television native.
Yeah.
I did grow up with a television. I don't remember not having a television.
TV was my babysitter, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Single mom.
The only time
the way she got through her grad school.
The only time we didn't have television was when you would forget to unplug it during a thunderstorm and it would get zapped, and then you would have to take it down the street to the dude that repaired televisions, which is not a thing that happens anymore whatsoever. I marked, he talks about how someone asked him where his computer was. And his response was, when I write scripts, I write with a pen on a long yellow notepad, because that's what's most comfortable for me. I don't use a computer at my work, but I'm interested in the ways people in our office use computers to help them with their work. Computers can be useful machines, especially the way they help people communicate in caring ways with each other, like you did in your letter to me.
Aww.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, we don't care how you do it. We just want you to do more of it. Yellow legal pad always makes me think of my dad. That's the only way he writes anything. And it made me happy that Mr. Rogers also writes on yellow legal pad.
Yellow. Why does that have to be yellow?
I know this.
I knew you would know. That's why I asked.
Because it's legal pad, and so when a lawyer makes handwritten notes, they want to be able to find their handwritten notes in their like printouts and stuff more easily.
So it doesn't
It stands out
So it
from
stands out.
the research.
Okay.
Yeah, they photocopied.
Perfect. Now you know.
I also, on a similar note, I found out what the second chair in a courtroom it does. There's like the first chair lawyer, and then there's a second chair lawyer. Yeah, they're the ones that do all the research, and then whenever like the first chair lawyer is talking, they're like, "Epiphany, you need this piece of research." That's what second chair does. So I could see someone trying to go through all that stuff, and then I need the yellow paper. So I can see how that's very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had marked that same the black and white television response. You know, it was a wonderful story you shared with us about the letter you sent to us when you were 5. It's an important reminder that we never know how our communication will be received. What I had intended as a kind thought had unfortunately turned into a difficult disappointment. I was so impressed by the caring way your father helped you turn your heartbreak into a treasured experience. You know, and that's a lesson of letter writing. He takes pains to tell people when they write to him, like, he always calls them their television friends. And like, he's like, he makes a point to say that he cannot really know you. And you need to really look for help to the people that are present in your life. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And just his general transparency about his television home and his real home.
Yeah.
It was really sweet. And also how he was like, I don't want to share too much information about my real home. That's private. I have a private life. You're part of my television life, but I don't have to tell you everything else. But he said it in a very sweet way.
He did.
I mean, he has a whole thing about a parent writes to him concerned about their kids, playing cops and robbers, essentially. And like violence in play. And he has a great section on that starting on page 156, which I recommend everybody reads because it's so good about how guns equate to feelings of power for people. And, quote, again and again, we learn from killers or would-be assassins in the news that their motivation was, at least in part, quote, the desire to show the world that I'm not just a nobody.
Yeah.
I don't think many of us believe that when our children play with pretend guns, it means they are likely to grow up to use real ones. But even so, that form of play can be very painful to us because it touches our own deep feelings about death, loss, love, and the value of human life. Those of us who are made uncomfortable by gunplay need to let our children know it and let them know in as many ways as we know how that they are valuable to us.
Yep.
Mic drop, Mr. Rogers, on guns.
Yeah.
So those were my marked passages.
Yeah, that in the italics, those of us that are made uncomfortable by gunplay need to let them know. I like that a lot because it's like, this is going to happen. This is probably why, but you don't have to let it happen.
No.
Like, you're still the adult. Tell them you don't like it.
Yeah. And then you know, he points out like, well, and they'll say, but so-and-so's gets to do it. It's like, well, you're not part of so-and-so's family, and this is how we do things in our family.
Yep.
They do things differently.
Exactly. Yeah, that's, I use that line
and
a
I'm
lot
just like,
with my kids.
That's a good one.
Diplomatic.
It started with helmets, because I was like the mom that made their kids wear helmets on their little three-wheeled scooters. Like, no, they're probably not going to fall down and hurt themselves, but I just like the idea of them like getting started. They're going to be riding bikes soon enough, and they gripe about other kids not wearing helmets. Just like, you know what? Their grown-up says they don't have to wear a helmet, then that's their rule.
Yeah.
You're my kid, and this is my rule. The end.
Yeah.
Like, we're not judging them.
Yeah.
But these are our rules.
That's how my mom raised me, was like always with helmet. And to this day, I still ride my bike always with a helmet. And I'm really happy I do, because I've known 2 people in my life that have gotten in very bad bike accidents, one very recently. And the only reason they're okay is because they're wearing helmets. Mm-hmm. So like, it always gets reinforced to me, like, shit, my mom was right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad she did it from a young age. So I would just get used to it, you know? Yeah. So yeah, maybe that's it. It's like, if you have a problem with gunplay at home, then just start it young and just be like, no, not in our house. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. And like when other kids come over and gunplay, just like, well, I'm the adult in charge right now.
Yeah.
Your mom's not here, so I
like the way he said it, where it was like, no, you got to leave it at the door. Like check it, you know? And I'm just like, that's actually not bad. You know, it's like, you leave your scooter outside, you leave your shoes outside, you leave your fake guns out there too, you know?
We actually have a no gun sign on our door.
Yeah.
My 7-year-old, this is, you know, like around the school walkout time, and we didn't talk too much about school shootings, but she did know a little bit, and she started noticing these public places with these no gun signs. She's like, why don't we have one of these? Like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's ridiculous that people have to have them anyway.
Yes.
Oh, well, I mean, that's because of the new law, or 2-year-old law that we got, right? Yeah. Originally, guns were not allowed in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So
we have a not legally binding but helpful no gun sign on our door, which eliminates that awkward conversation at play dates at the very least. They can drop their kids off at my house, and there will not be any guns in here.
Well, yeah.
The end.
Oh, do they have that? I don't. You know, like, is that a question that gets brought up now?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it sucks. It's just like part of parenting now.
I had no idea.
Think about it. If you want to drop your kid off at a place that has a gun, then you have to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just was never. I mean,
and
maybe my mom did ask. I don't know.
have friends with guns. They're locked up in a secure place, and we've talked about it.
Yeah.
So it's not that I would never let my kids go to a house with guns, but I like to know that
where it is. Or,
And I'm not gonna check your safe or anything.
Yeah.
But it is a conversation parents have now.
Interesting.
Yeah. Think about how many houses you probably played at as a kid with guns.
Oh, a lot. I grew up in Florida.
That's all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A whole bunch. No, I mean, actually, no, my house had guns because my uncle was in the Coast Guard, and he was a sharpshooter as well. So we had guns in the house.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And my grandfather just passed away.
Yeah.
So many guns, you guys. So many guns. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Part of it too is that my kids not living in a house with guns. They're so ignorant about guns. It's like, you know what? Sometimes this is not about you as the gun owner. It's about my kid not having any idea how dangerous guns really are, because we don't have to talk about it constantly. They know, but there could be a curiosity my kid would have that your kid wouldn't.
Yeah. Right.
So,
yeah.
Crazy. Anyhow. Yeah, I love Mr. Rogers.
No, well, you know what? I'm glad that you brought this up, because the other thing I was thinking about is that this book is dated, right? I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, it does. It has that whole section on explaining television.
Mm-hmm. Right. So then how do you think Mr. Rogers would explain cell phone use or social media use?
I wish he would.
Yeah.
Right?
I wish he could.
Because in 2003, social media wasn't really exploding. Mm-hmm. Let me think. Probably Friendster was around in 2003.
Yeah,
maybe Facebook.
MySpace.
Oh yeah,
Before
MySpace. I forgot that
MySpace
MySpace
thing.
even
There was
existed.
definitely Instant Messenger in 2003.
Yeah.
Yes.
Live Journal.
Mm-hmm.
That was big.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
And email was big.
Yeah, an email was big, but there wasn't anything on the scope of Twitter or Snapchat or Instagram. So I'm
The
curious.
personal cell phone wasn't
right.
in 2003.
I think this personal cell phone is
like
what does
I think
it.
they were still just phones.
Yes.
Like maybe if you could take a picture on your phone, it was a super big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was like 10 pixels.
Yeah. So it's just curious to me, like, how would a Mr. Rogers approach that, And I don't know if I have the answer. And I also wonder if he would have been successful.
Yeah.
If that was the environment that he had to have children or teach children in.
I think based on the way that because did he have a radio program in the beginning?
I don't know, probably.
I feel like
they say something about radio, yeah.
But we know that he transitioned from like the radio era to the TV era, and he took television and made it something that I don't think anyone knew was possible. I like to think that he would have that same power with social media and cell phones and internet tools.
Yeah.
People don't really think of TV as like an amazing, wholesome thing, but he managed to do that.
You're right. I mean, like, it was like him and Julia Child, right? Like, they both went on, they were like, whatever, we have this slot, just do it, do whatever you want. And they both revolutionized those different areas of television.
Yeah.
Both on PBS. So it's just like, maybe you're right. Maybe, he'd be like Instagram stories or whatever for children.
I mean, it's the internet now. It's just so vast.
Yeah.
It's hard to say what he would have done exactly, but I like to think that he would have been like a welcome beacon in the internet as we know it today.
Yeah. So that was just one thing because, one of my friends their kid is 19, maybe 20. So they were raising him in the time where it was like, there was that transition from like a regular phone that just did text messaging and phone calls to like having the smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
And so they ended up doing like screen time equals anything, TV, laptop, phone. Like that is what we call screen time. And that's how they limited him. So like, yeah, it's just like this whole new host of rules and problems and whatever. Like, I don't know. But I would have loved to have his take on like school shootings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, which we kind of got a little bit.
Yeah.
But
what year was Columbine?
1997.
Yeah, I was gonna say 7.
Yeah, I wonder if he must have had some kind of statement directly after that. Curious.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up. I was when his stamp was announced, there was a lot of people who were coming out of the woodwork and like talking about how they like Mr. Rogers and interactions that they had with Mr. Rogers and stuff. And there was one that I read that so Mr. Rogers was did a show in Pittsburgh. I don't know if he was from Pittsburgh. He was? Okay. So he happened to be in Pittsburgh or something, and some guy ran into Mr. Rogers like directly after he had a talk or event or something. And he was just like thanking him. And all of a sudden he said that like out of nowhere, I just kind of started breaking down a little bit and just started telling him a problem I was having at that point. And like, he was just like, I couldn't believe how this extraordinarily busy man sat there with patience and love and listened to me and helped me. And it made me feel like that, he came there to talk to me. And I was just like, oh my God. And it like happened like before he passed away, like a couple of years or something. And I was just like, oh my God, this dude just never stopped.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. And
everybody just be more like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
That's just all we're asking. It's just,
and I love the stamp photo they chose too with the king and
Friday.
Yeah. That's super cool. When did it get released?
last month.
Last month. Super cool. I love it. And I'm glad that they chose him too. So,
although personally, I would have loved to have seen a whole suite of Mr. Rogers stamps with all the different little puppets and like the museum and like but whatever. Okay, fine. We got a stamp. It's fine.
Yeah. I actually, going back to the book for a second, I didn't know he also did some puppeteering. Because he mentioned that
did he make the puppets?
Yes,
because they are so handmade.
Yeah,
like especially in those early episodes.
They're very.
Daniel Tiger
charming.
is like, are those
he looks
buttons just like dangling off that thing's face?
Daniel Tiger looks like a very loved toy.
Yes.
I honestly have not rewatched it since I was a child, and the only thing I've ever rewatched from my childhood was He-Man. We've had this conversation. How much your child mind fills in, because He-Man,
there's very little animation in that.
I've heard that it's so few frames.
There's little frames, and my child mind just filled in all those empty frames. Like, it was such a dynamic cartoon when I was a kid, and then when I was rewatching it, I'm like, his mouth moved once in 30 seconds. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. But yeah, and so I doubt those kids noticed like that an eye was hanging off or something like that.
Speaking of kids noticing things, I wanted to read this letter because I was just like, so I got such a kick out of it. This is, Dear Mr. Rogers, do you zip your coat all the way up when you go outside to play in the snow? Or do you leave the zipper down a little like you do on your sweater? I want to wear my coat just like you. I think you leave your zipper down a little. My mother thinks you zip your coat all the way up. Please tell us what to do. Thank you very much. John, age 3. I know that kid. This is not my kid, but I know that kid.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine little John having that conversation with his mom over and over and over again, and her finally saying, fine. We'll write him a letter.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I 100% imagined them standing in front of the door, and it's just like, I'm sure he slips it up all the way, honey. And it's just like, no. And it's like, I just imagined the entire conversation. I was just like, oh my God.
He's 3, so the mom wrote this.
Yeah.
And I think you sense that annoyance in her writing.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And but I love how his response was very much like, I have this microphone, it has to be down, and he's not talking to a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
He's talking to a person.
Yeah, and then he says, when I go outside on a cold day, I zip my sweater or jacket up all the way so that I can be warm. Listen to your mother. But this is obviously a kid that needs all of this explained to him, and he recognizes that and gives him all the info.
Yeah, I do like how from like a 3-year-old to like, I think he even wrote a teenager as well.
Yeah,
he kind of writes to them the same way.
Oh no, he talks to the parents the same way.
Yeah. And like, but I appreciate that. One of my friends, she's like that with her kids, where it's like, if they ask me about, I don't know,
death.
Death. I'm going to explain it to them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to give them every single freaking detail.
Yeah.
But I'll explain to them. The one I remembered was like, we were talking about like mythology or something and like centaurs. And then I think that she asked like, are they real? And the mom was like, well, let's have a conversation about mythology and blah, blah, blah. Because you can't say they're not real, because they can be in your imagination. Like, there's a lot of different ways to interpret that. Yes, exactly. So, and I was like, wow, that's actually, you're just talking to her like, not an adult, but, a human.
Yeah.
Not 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
I like that. I appreciate it. And I feel he's doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't remember why I dog-eared this page. There's a lot going on here.
I have to say, like, so I work in a library, and we have multiple libraries on the divisions of the school, and one of them is social services. And I feel like this should be in the social services library, if it's not already, because there's so much that I learned about how to talk to children, how to talk to adults.
He has a whole other book that is just Mr. Rogers Talks to Parents.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found it very helpful, and so I couldn't imagine how it'd be for someone who actually works with like children all the time. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to write an email to that librarian and be like, hey, do you have Dear Mr. Rogers? Because I think you should totally have it.
Yeah. I was a little surprised. I wanted to check it out at the library, and Chicago Public Libraries did not have it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that, and that's why I ended up buying it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. I mean, I'm glad I have it now.
And it's not on Kindle. Otherwise, I try to buy it on Kindle.
Mm-hmm.
But and before we went online, we both noticed that on the top of our copy it says "Write to Mr. Rogers, pre-adjust stationery inside." Now, I wasn't expecting an envelope or something, especially since he's passed on. But I was expecting at least stationery. I don't know why I was expecting
Or
that.
like a
but-
Well,
tear
because
out
it does
page or something.
say it.
Yeah.
It says it.
It does
Right there on the cover.
Yeah.
Dear Penguin, penguin.com. Hey, Penguin, where's my stationery?
Like it would have been cool just to have like a Mr. Rogers stationery or something,
I
or
agree.
I don't know what.
I wonder where people got his address. Probably from the credits.
Well, he says in the introduction that he's encouraged people, his television friends, to write to him.
Oh, okay.
So I bet you that they had, or maybe that he said something in the end.
I
that's,
definitely
like,
don't remember him
unconnected.
encouraging kids my age to write to him.
I don't
He must have
remember that.
already been.
Yeah,
He talks about the piles and piles of letters.
Yeah. I don't remember him doing that either.
Yeah.
But also, I think during that time, it was just well known that you could write to publishers and produce and the television broadcasting system for the people, for the stars or whatever. So I bet you that's just what people did.
Yeah.
And it got to him eventually.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you still could do that actually. So I don't know how long it would take for it to get to them, but
Yeah.
yeah. And I did like that they included drawings.
I like that they included drawings, but I will complain a little bit because the drawings never connected to one of the letters in the chapter.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted the story with some of.
I think they did though. That one might have been the only one that didn't.
Really?
Oh no. That one did. It was 2 letters later.
Oh.
It didn't
okay.
always connect with the first one.
Okay.
Sometimes it did, but sometimes it was later on. Is what I noticed.
Okay. Yeah, I wish they would have put them with the letter then, because I didn't make that connection. But I did like them.
Yeah. I thought they were cool.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, I think I'd be interested in reading the letters to parents one. That one sounds pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, so as the only person out of this trio with children, like, have you actually, since you've read it, have you done anything? Have you implemented anything different in your parenting?
I feel like I mean, I'm not like an amazing parent, but I feel like I watched Mr. Rogers growing up and I kind of like already adopted some of these parenting skills. Not really. I think he just kind of like reinforced some of the things that like my kids always seem to know someone who's getting divorced, and we've had kind of like a lot of deaths in the family the past year. So it did help me in just that it was like okay to talk more about them, because sometimes you want to have these important discussions with your kids, but you don't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
Like you just have this, like one chance where they're really paying attention. And yeah, there were a few segments in here that it helped me, especially the death part. I was actually reading this book too. I had a death in the family 2 weeks ago as I was finishing up the book, and I ended up in a 6-hour, it's like a cousin of mine, not super close, but I still really wanted to be there for the funeral. So I was in like a 6-hour car ride with my little sister, who also grew up on Mr. Rogers, and it was the middle of the night, and I read her a lot of the death letters. They were just really
Did it help
touching.
you guys?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It did.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it was really comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, like with and we touched on this a little bit about the prayer and death. There was one part that I just adored, talking about death. I can't find the exact letter, but there was this segment about this kid's grandma died, and they were talking about her going to heaven, and he was talking about how confusing heaven can be to kids. Like the idea that they will see this person again. It's like, well,
oh, that's when he was like, oh, I want to get them back for you or something like that.
Yes, yeah. I want your grandma to come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like, you really need to make it clear that death is final.
Yeah.
You're not going to see this person again.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
heaven is an okay way to cope with things, but make sure they understand that this person is really gone.
Yeah. And the other thing I liked about that, he brings it up a lot in the death part, where it's like, be simple in your explanation, but then always leave it open.
Yeah.
Like, we can talk about this more.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to talk about this more? Or are you okay right now? Okay, well, we can talk about it later.
Yeah.
You know, like, I liked that, because sometimes you're just like, yeah, it's like, okay, we're done having this conversation now. Like, this is uncomfortable for me, and you know, whatever, like that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to me to, like, that was the way he was thinking about it. It's like, don't overwhelm them.
Yes.
Yeah, that you only have this one chance, right? Like, so I really liked his concept about that.
And kids can really, like, I mean, my 4 and 7-year-olds, like, they can really only handle like one really intense thought at a time. So sometimes, and this is something that I feel like some of these letters that he responds to kids, like, maybe the parents could break them into chunks because this is his only chance to respond to this kid on this one topic. And he talks a little bit about that in the beginning, his frustration of, like, I wish I could just see them one-on-one and understand, like, how they're responding to this statement I just gave them. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Some of the best parenting advice I've ever gotten was only answer the question that's asked. I mean, answer it well, but if you just, like, launch into one thing after another, they're lost already. So answer the one question, ask them if they want it. This is very helpful when your kid starts asking you about how babies are made. Because you don't want to overwhelm them with too much information, but you want to give them facts too.
Yeah.
So you start by just, like, giving them a little bit of basic info, and then, you know, would you like to know more about that?
Yeah.
They usually don't. They usually don't.
I think that might be why I became such a voracious reader, because I would ask those questions, and I think my mom's technique was to, like, give it basic, and it's like, we can go get a book about that.
Yeah.
Are you interested?
There were a lot of books handed to me that were just like,
But
go in your room and read that.
That's great. Like, you can figure it out in your own time. You can skip things, and once I started reading, I think my mom slipped me a copy of Our Bodies, Ourselves. Just, like, ended up in my room once. We never really talked about it, but it was there. And it's fantastic. Yeah, books can be really helpful.
Yeah. So, I mean, I must say this, because letter writing, organization, and all that good stuff, is that I'm so glad that we have this relic of Mr. Rogers. Like, while you were saying that, you're reading all these letters, right? And it helped you guys, right? And it's just like, he's gone, but he's still helping people because they archived these letters, because they put them in a book. So, and that's one of the reasons that we love letter writing so much, is because most people don't tend to archive emails or print them out. I do know a couple people actually who have done that, though. Like, if they had their relationship started on email, they have archived them.
I have that.
Yeah. So, but I tend to not even organize or keep my email, but I have kept all letters and all that stuff. So it's just a really good personal history. And then when you're a celebrity like Mr. Rogers, you can keep helping people from the grave. From the grave.
I want to just say really quickly, the sweetest thing he talks about with his personal life, how he deals with being angry.
Oh my God, he's like, I slam on the piano or swim really fast.
I play the piano very loudly and swim very fast.
And he mentions it several times.
He does.
I just can't imagine him. Like,
I read that part aloud to Dylan, and he was just like,
he's a perfect human.
He's just a perfect human being.
I can't imagine him being angry at a piano. I can't. Somehow I can visually imagine him, like, swimming it off, but I don't.
See, I don't even. It's not even that he would, like, slam the keys. He would just play very loudly.
Yes.
Like, he's still playing
a beautiful song. I'm sure.
Loud.
I imagine. So here's what I imagine. He had a crappy day in the office. He comes home. He's, doing his thing on the piano. I can see, like, his wife coming to the door and, like, listening. He's like, oh no. Oh no. Fred's angry. I'm going to take a walk around the block and come back later. Oh, yes, that was so charming.
Yeah, and I also didn't know he had 2 sons.
Yeah.
And, like, grown sons by the time that he was basically, like, making the television programs.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
how
I mean,
he explains it.
How old was he, you think? I think he was probably 50 or something by the time we were watching him.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
he started when he was 20s or 30s.
Really?
Must have been.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be in radio, TV, everything.
Yeah.
How he got so good at it. Did it
Yeah.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Angela said she got stationery in her book, and it was the folded kind.
Oh, maybe you guys just didn't buy new copies.
Yeah, maybe.
That's
I don't
disappointing.
know. It is. Well, I'm glad that you got
Jealous,
stationery,
Angela.
though. That's
But take a picture and share it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yes,
just to see
please.
it.
Or Twitter, whatever your social media is. I want to see what it looks like, Angela. Please take a picture of it.
I'm also curious if you wrote on the stationery and sent it in, what would happen?
I don't know.
Would somebody respond to you, or would it just get returned?
I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if it goes to the PBS station in Pittsburgh,
Probably.
someone will probably respond, but
Yeah.
saying like, "Oh, you know,
Yeah.
sorry, but whatever," right? But I'm sure they would respond. And
They probably have a form letter.
yeah. So, and that's another thing that was interesting to me is like he obviously had some sort of form letter, slightly. He had like a boilerplate that then he would. I bet you it's only like 5 sentences though, and then he would add like a whole bunch, you know.
Yeah.
But like it's like okay, it's about that. We're gonna use these couple sentences and include this song.
Yeah.
Like, I think he had like a formula.
Yeah.
Well, I think he would have to.
He
Yeah.
would. And I mean, maybe it's better that way. Maybe really fine tune that death letter.
Well, I'm not even
That's
saying it's
just
bad,
right.
but I'm
Yeah.
just saying even though he did, I still don't read these letters and go, oh, that's boilerplate.
Mhm.
Like the only reason I knew it is because I kept seeing him reference a song a few times.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm
Well,
like,
and he would
okay.
talk about including a printout of the song.
Right. Or like, he said this is an excerpt from the letter because he's probably repeated something he's repeated in another one.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it seemed still very personal.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway, most likely we'll be gifting this for Christmas to many of my friends.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. I'm glad that we chose it.
Yeah.
So
It was a good read.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for being our guest.
yeah.
Yeah, it was wonderful. This is my first time at book club.
Yay.
I told these guys I really, I've always been hesitant to commit to book clubs, and they made me feel a lot better about it. I didn't realize you could sign up for a book club and just like start the book and be like, I hate this, I'm out. But apparently that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling Betsy that that's what I've done in one book club of mine that, yeah, if I really, truly don't like it, I'll just go to the book club and say why I really and truly don't like it and why I only read 3 of the short stories out of I don't know how many.
Yeah, and honestly, we had a much more in-depth conversation about this book than I was expecting. Because normally when we all like a book, it's just like, it was great.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
Let's all meet pie.
there was a lot
Like,
to
yeah.
talk about.
no,
Yeah.
but that's the sign of a really good book, is it if you all enjoy it and still have things to discuss.
Totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed Dear Mr. Rogers. Okay, I'll say the entire title because Donna's gonna. Yeah. Does it ever rain in your neighborhood? Letters to Mr. Rogers. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend that you do. Also, thanks for watching this entire thing. If you haven't read it, that's pretty cool.
We read it, you don't have to,
Yeah.
but you do. You do have to.
Yeah.
'Cause everyone should.
Yeah.
Well, the truth is, we're not saying it as well as Mr. Rogers could say
Oh my
it,
gosh,
so.
no. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
no.
Mr. Rogers would have been really a lot nicer about telling you to read his book.
Yeah, definitely. We haven't picked the book yet for next season. We do this quarterly, but it's going to happen. What was this, our spring one? So I guess it's going to
Sure.
happen at the end of summer. Yeah. Whatever. Follow us on social media, and you'll find out.
We'll
you know.
tell you all about it.
Yeah, we'll tell you all about the book we chose and the guest and when it is. You know, whatever. We just kind of roll with the way our schedules work. So,
Yeah. But thank you. Thanks for spending a little time with us,
Yeah.
no matter what time it was. And we'll talk to you guys soon. You can send us a letter. You can send us a tweet.
Yep.
You can send us an Instagram. You
Mhm.
can don't write us an email. Those other things are better.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks so much, guys, and I hope you have good reading times and letter times.